And there it is. So looking inside the casing, this is our suction hole right there. You can see the copper, I cut it off. This is where the refrigerant gets pulled into the compressor shell, and it's just open in there. Here on the compressor, we have this plastic reservoir here, and it pulls in the refrigerant through this side hole here. So you could see that hole right there. It gets pulled in there. And this is where it gets pulled up into this chamber here. So here's the back side of this chamber. We have this little plate here, and this is the hole here where the refrigerant gets sucked up by the piston, and it goes through this plate, and there's this little flexible plate on top of it, so it's like a little flapper. So when the piston head sits right here, right over here, so you could see on this is my piston right in there. So when I turn the rotor, you can see how that piston just moves up and down. So on that top stroke there, that's where the refrigerant actually gets compressed. On the piston's downstroke, the refrigerant gets sucked into this reservoir where the oil sits on the bottom here, and it gets pulled in through this little hole there, gets pulled in through this plate, and this little flexible plate there lifts up, lets that refrigerant in, and when it compresses back down, the piston head sits right on top of this plate, and the refrigerant goes through this little hole here and then gets pushed through these chambers inside here. All right, and then it eventually makes its way to these little tiny side holes here. Now this little side hole, if you look on here, right here, it goes in there, it goes into this chamber right here. I'll open that up. And on the inside there, there's that little hole right there. All right, that's where the refrigerant gets pushed through there, through that hole. And this here, this is our discharge line, and this is the compressed refrigerant that makes its way back to the evaporator coil right there. So let me take this off here. This is our rotor. All right, here's our piston, and it's just like a combustible engine. You know, it spins on a crankshaft. Right, our little piston there moves up and down. All right, that's our suction stroke, that's our compression stroke, suction, compression, and so on. Now here's our windings. All right, this is a stator. We have our run and our start windings in here, and our common. This pin here, this is the pin that connects to the pins on the inside of the shell here. All right, and on the outside, that's where we actually perform our tests with our multimeter connectors. This connector right there slides right on top of those pins, and it's all connected. So as you can see here, I'm starting to pull this thing apart. I'm pulling the windings apart here. So this connector here, that top is our common. This is our run winding. That's our start winding. So you can see here, this is our run winding here, and we have two wires here coming off of that. Two parts of the windings here making up the complete windings in the stator of the motor. All right, and then on the other side here we have our start winding. We got one wire there making up part of the stator, and then in the middle here we have the common, and you can see we have three wires to it. So we have the two wires from run coming to it, we have the one wire from the start winding coming to it, and then it goes back to the pin on the external part of the compressor. So this is exactly what you see in these Y diagrams and schematics. Run winding, start winding, common, right there, all three together. Now unfortunately I tried to get to the thermal overload switch, but it's really small and it's really deeply embedded in here, so I just kind of gave up. But well, I'm going to get another compressor, a bigger one, that's going to be easier to find, and we'll do this again at some point. But that's it, that's pretty much it. It's not that complicated of a piece of equipment really.